Good morning, everyone. It's so good to be here today worshiping with you in this beautiful church on this beautiful October morning. My name is Jennifer Sully Ferraro. I'm the Director of Programs and Client Care at Evangel Mission, which is a lot of words. But I have the privilege to be a part of all the different programs that we offer at the hall. And it truly is a privilege to be there. So we often pride ourselves on being an older organization, but of course here I am standing in this beautiful church that is 201 years old. So we are, I guess, a little bit of maybe a teenager in the Presbyterian Church in Canada. But we've been around since 1913, and we started off in an old building at Queen in Portland. Many of you here probably were in that space serving meals. I didn't get to see that building myself, but I've certainly heard lots of stories, like churches coming to serve dinner to our folks and having to go down those narrow, rickety stairs with trays of food into the hall. So we offered many wonderful years of programming in that space, but we were really outgrowing it as the needs of the community were changing. We were having more and more folks coming through our doors and needing support. So we were able in 2006 to move to our present facility, which is an incredible building and really an incredible testament to the church, to the Presbyterian Church's faithfulness. It was a huge endeavor to get a building like this built, and our Presbyterian family certainly took the lead in helping us to do that. So in 2006, we moved to Adelaide and Bathurst, and our present facility has the drop-in space, and now it's all on one floor. So there's no more carrying food down those rickety old stairs. We have an incredible kitchen, a large drop-in space. We offer a lot of different programs within that drop-in space that I'll talk about in just a moment. But the other thing that was really exciting about our new building is what we were really finding is that it was the drop-in program is really important, but a lot of our folks didn't have anywhere to go. They had nowhere to live. And so our little corner of the city has changed immensely in the last 20 years. It's now quite a swanky place to be. The challenge is that a lot of these beautiful condo buildings are built on land that was formerly rooming houses. And while rooming houses are not ideal housing, they're affordable housing. And so what we're finding is the number of folks who are homeless is increasing, and that has been a big challenge. And so in response to that, in our new building, there's included 84 units of subsidized housing, which is kind of at that tower at the front. We also were able to add a dental clinic into our program, which is really, really phenomenal. So we have a beautiful space in the basement of the building that has 3 operatory rooms, and we have a partnership with the Toronto College of Dental Hygiene. So they come and provide hygiene services every Monday and some Fridays, and then we have volunteer dentists and a volunteer denturist who will come and provide free dental care to folks who need it. So at the hall, we take a 360-degree view of wellness. We are looking at the needs of the body, the spirit, and the mind. So our 3 pillars of care, first is homelessness. And, it doesn't take much time in the city to see the challenge of homelessness and to see the needs are growing and the complexity are growing. There was a recent CTV article that actually said that the cost of homelessness is costing up to $161,000 per year for the city of Toronto. So it's phenomenal numbers. And places like Evangel Hall are a really important part of the fight to protect those folks who are on the streets and to help get them connected and housed. Our drop-in provides a safe community away from life on the streets and social isolation. It's a beautiful place of coming to break bread together. We have showers, we give toiletries, many of which this church generously supports. We give out socks and underwear every day. We do clothing. We also have a financial trustee program because we have many folks who are living off of very small incomes, and the trustee program is really important for keeping housing, because that program makes sure that rent is paid first, and so that we can keep people in the housing that they get. And then, of course, we have housing help program to help people find housing, which is a increasingly difficult task in the city to find affordable housing. I think they just said a one-bedroom is now going for $2,500 per month in rent. Our housing has 110 people living there. Our youngest tenant is 18 months, and our oldest tenant is 87. So it's a real cross-section of people. And it's a really special community. People really look out for each other there and have really built some beautiful relationships. And then health. A lot of our folks have had a lot of trauma. They're very distrusting. And so getting them to go and get their healthcare needs met can be very challenging. So just to give you an example, we have our Out of the Cold program, and there's a nurse that comes to that. And one evening we had a gentleman come in, and he didn't look very well, but we weren't quite sure what was going on, and his girlfriend was quite upset. And she said, you know, all day he's been off, he refuses to be seen by anyone. So we gently coaxed him into talking to the nurse, and it turned out that he was actually having a stroke. And so thankfully we were able to get him to the hospital. But if he hadn't come through our doors in a place where he trusted the folks there, that gentleman probably would have passed away. And so it's really, that's a lot of the value that the hall adds in our community. So because of your support, we had 39,506 visits made to our drop-in center. 100,000 nutritious meals were served. 52 worship services were held. 103 clients received housing security supports. 110 tenants call our residents home. 710 preventative and emergency dental care visits were made to our free dental care clinic. And there were 489 visits to our men's group, 226 visits to our women's group, and 215 visits to our creative group. So what does that all mean? Just like the scripture that we just read, people who were hungry were fed, people who were homeless were housed, and people who were alone were loved. And you know, that bottom point cannot emphasize enough. I think so much of what we do, what's really critical is that community building. So a couple of weeks ago, one of our drop-in members passed away quite suddenly, and it was very difficult for the community. There was no service that was going to be held for him, so we held a memorial service for him at the hall. It was really well attended, and it was a beautiful time of ministry and reflection. We always open it up after the little sermon. We always open it up for people who want to share. And we had over 23 people sharing memories of this man and what he meant to them. And one gentleman even played a song. And then afterwards, we were able to do a little reception with the sandwiches that come from churches like St. Andrew's. And it was just a beautiful time for people to come together and remember their friend who was like a family member in a lot of ways. And again, this individual there would have been nothing, which is very difficult. We all need a way to honor our loved ones in our lives. So I'm going to share a story with you now about one of our tenants. Her name is Cynthia, but she is not known to you folks here. And I'll call her Cindy because that's actually what we call her. So Cindy survived on her own since fleeing a really unstable upbringing, and that's what we find with a lot of the folks who come through our doors. They had very, very difficult childhoods. She was only 25 when a workplace accident caused permanent damage, forcing her out of work. And this was very difficult for her because she had worked very hard to break the cycles of poverty and abuse that she grew up in. So this was very difficult. Over the next 30 years, Cindy really struggled with unstable housing, unsafe housing, addictions, and extreme insecurity. When Cindy moved into her apartment at Evangel Hall, for the first time in decades, she could say, "This is mine, I feel safe now." Cindy is a real dynamite person, and it's been really beautiful to watch her come into fullness of life. She meets regularly with our spiritual care worker for prayer every week and encouragement, and she's actually created her own ministry of sorts in supporting her neighbors and is always on the lookout for how she can help other people. So this Christmas, she'll be able to celebrate with her fellow residents in a community of care and safety. Our drop-in will be transformed with decorations and filled with Christmas activities. And Christmas can be a very difficult time. We have a bit of an epidemic of loneliness, I think, across all socioeconomic statuses. And we are trying really hard to make people feel at home for the holidays. At Evangel Mission, we want everyone who walks through our door to know that you are loved, you are seen, and you are important. So the folks that come to the hall are facing all sorts of challenges. It could be poverty, homelessness, substance abuse, physical and mental health issues. And and the needs are very complex. And we also have an aging population that we're serving. And because of the stresses of street-involved life, what happens is that people age prematurely. So people in their early 40s are exhibiting symptoms that we wouldn't expect to see until your late 60s. So for an example, one of our tenants is a lovely lady, and she has no family in Canada, and she had a bad fall 2 years ago, and during that fall was actually diagnosed with early onset dementia. Unfortunately, she's refused to do any follow-up visits since then, and we've been watching her deteriorate. And so we are literally the only people with eyes on this woman. And so we were able to get her back into the hospital a couple weeks ago, and we were working with the social workers there and the psychiatrist trying to get her support. And these are some of the challenges that our folks are facing, and the work that we try to do to support them, to keep them safe and healthy. So St. Andrew's is a big part of the hall's success. In different ways that you can continue to help us to succeed, number one is certainly prayer. We need a lot of prayer. Please continue to pray for our staff members, strength and discernment as we provide daily supports for people in very difficult situations. Financial support. Your generous financial gifts support our annual operating budget of almost $2.2 million. Almost 60% of that is donated by funders just like you. And in-kind donations. So the 100,000 meals that we serve annually rely heavily on donations of food and volunteers from congregations like you. And when I started at the hall in 2016, one of the things I found to be most special were the sandwiches. And through my time there, it's been incredible because I've met generations of families who have been preparing and donating sandwiches, some since 1913. And the sandwiches are so appreciated. And then right now we have our Loaves and Fishes campaign, and a big thank you to St. Andrew's Women's Group because you are our first donors and you've kicked us off to a great start. This is a special campaign inviting our church community to support food programming at EHM. And there's more information, I believe, in the bulletin insert. Food is really central to the work we do. Food is what gets people out, and it's really important to us as we continue our work. So thank you all for what you do. By sharing your gifts of time, finances, supplies, and goodwill, your congregation at St. Andrew's has made a lasting and deep impact. I really can't understate how much it means to people to know that there are other people in the community who love them and care for them and would take the time to knit mittens or donate socks or donate food. It's very powerful for folks to know that they're not alone. So thank you so much for your commitment and compassion, extending Christian grace and love to people in need of help. Thank you.